Hello friends, it's Chops. Welcome to another Chopsvlog. You may notice I am not on my warrior. This is a level 16 Mog farmer I made. Her name is Pop Tart. She's a paladin. One of my long-standing goals has been to get the Bulwark of Azeroth or Blackrock Bulwark transmog on my free-to-play account so that my warrior can use it. It's one of my all-time favorite looks. And now that I'm kind of done with that baseline, it's time to start working on it. The thing is, I can't just go get it on my warrior because shields, epic shields, drop at requires level 21 to use. And since I can't level, if that shield were to drop, I wouldn't be able to learn the appearance because I wouldn't be able to bind it. So I had a couple conversations with a couple of guys in the farming community. Same guys that found the Destiny farm, the Destiny Skullflame Shield, Hand of Edward the Odd, those guys. Had a little chat with a couple of them, and they were of the opinion that I should make a level 16 farmer to go through the Warlords of Draenor dungeons with, and maybe even some of the open world spawn points with. I don't really understand all the math and all the dropping chances and all that stuff as to why 16 is preferable to 15 is preferable to 17. I don't know. But they're the experts. I trust them. And so that's what I did is I made this little level 16 farmer so that I could get this one shield appearance. And when I talk about how obsessive that might be, I mean, we're pretty well geared. I had to go and get all of this different socket gear and stuff like that. Went and got the Crusader enchant. And this is all on a free-to-play account. So I've essentially built a second free-to-play twink, which has so far been a bit of a slog, man. I've been working on it for a couple of weeks now. What we're doing right now is I need to get the minor speed enchant for her boots. That requires an aquamarine. I would like to make several enchants just to stockpile them. So while I could probably go farm a couple mobs and find an aquamarine eventually, what I would prefer to do is mine until I can mine up a bunch of mithril and then prospect it for a handful of aquamarines. It's a more reliable way of getting it. And a better spend of my time, I think, than trying to farm it up in open world farming. So that's what we're going to do while I talk to you guys about this week's big news, the Dragonflight Alpha. Everybody panic, Dragonflight's coming out. It is an alpha, guys. And so what I want to talk to y'all about really is keeping that in mind. Yeah, man, it's the alpha. It's not even beta. We're not even in beta yet. All that's out on alpha right now is the Dragon Isles, right? We're not even getting into what 20 scaling is going to look like. We're not getting into how gear that we currently have is going to scale. Are we going to still get to keep access to the high-powered gems that we have and all of that? We don't know. But there were two incidences that happened over this past week, 3 even, we may mention, where it just really occurred to me that everybody needs to take it down a notch, right? Not that everybody's angry and yelling at each other, but we need to dial down our understanding of what's coming a little bit. So what I mean by that is, by way of example, we had a conversation on the XPOP Discord a couple days ago where a guy came in, very nice guy. I don't mean to throw him under the bus here. He was just very excited and came in and said, Ian Hazostokius or Hozstokius or whatever that guy's name is, has said that trial accounts aren't going to get access to Shadowlands content. That's quite a big declaration. So I was like, well, do you have the interview? Where did he say that? I haven't seen anything like that. So he links an interview that Ian gave to a YouTuber where they talked about sort of the intended leveling process. And what Ian had actually said was that their intended leveling expansion was still BFA. They were going to guide new players from Exile's Reach into BFA content because it didn't make sense for them to come out of Exile's Reach and immediately get dumped into Shadowlands content where they were having to rescue all these big name NPCs from what he called jokingly Super Hell. Rather, it made more sense to put you into BFA, where what you were going to do was deal with sort of like these regional conflicts that grew into sort of like a larger world conflict over the course of your leveling experience and journey. That nowhere in there did he say starter accounts won't have access to Shadowlands. Now, it's still possible that we don't have access to Shadowlands, but what he said was they weren't going to make Shadowlands the leveling experience, right? And, you know, within the context of things that they had said earlier in the lead up to the the Dragonflight launch, you know, they were talking about rescaling every zone or every expansion from 10 to 60 in order to allow you to level through any expansion that you wanted. It sounds like starter accounts will indeed have access to Shadowlands. It's just not going to be where the game kind of directs you, right? So what I wanted to say is like, pay attention to what they're actually saying, not sort of like what you think they're saying, right? So that we don't start spreading misinformation like that, right? Or worse, on the other hand, we all turn around and start saying things like, we're definitely going to get access to raids in Dragonflight because we all misunderstood one thing said. And then Dragonflight comes out, we don't have access to raids, and everybody's really super disappointed, right? That would be the other side of this coin. That would really suck. So just be very careful about what people are saying and what exactly it is that they're saying, not what you think they might be implying. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was talent trees. Now, as we've been getting this lead up to Dragonflight, we've been getting them releasing all of these talent trees for all of the various classes and stuff, which has got us all very excited. The talent trees look great. They are offering characters in our level a variety of very interesting choices. It looks great for the bracket so far. I'm very excited about the talent trees. But Dragonflight was out for like 24 hours and they were already talking about making drastic changes to the hunter tree. Less than 2 days in, they had removed an entire tier of talents in the rogue tree that we would have had access to, and they were just like, nope, we're bumping this threshold up one. That's an entire tier of talents you guys aren't going to have access to. And then after that, they were like, they expanded the tier they did kind of lock us into. They've made points changes to various talents in the druid tree. They've made adjustments here and there to other classes and stuff. So again, this is the alpha. Like, everybody just keep in mind, everything's going to change. None of this is set in stone. And in fact, the alpha is like the rough draft. So it bears repeating many, many times that what we currently see is not going to be what goes live in Dragonflight. And if you're looking at the talent trees now and bemoaning, you know, your class because you are a flavor of the month reroller and you roll the hunter, and now you're looking at the talent trees and going, yeah, we don't have serpent sting anymore. Which, one, fuck you, nobody cares. Two, it may change, man. That may change. Like, you know, if you're looking at druid trees and saying, oh wow, balance is going to be the only spec worth playing in Dragonflight, man, they've really killed Resto, or Resto is going to be the only spec worth playing, they've really killed balance. Like, you don't know. One, because all of this is going to change. Two, because we have no idea what the scaling is like, right? So what I wanted to get at and sort of what I wanted to talk to y'all about just a little bit this week, even though I realize I am a very small voice screaming this mostly into the void, is everybody just needs to chill. Just chill out. Like, be cool, guys. There's going to be, we're entering a 6-month period where there is just going to be a deluge of information almost on a daily basis about Dragonflight and changes that are made and the way things are expected to be and predictions people are making. It's going to be, even if you aren't like an avid content consumer, like I don't pay much attention to World of Warcraft YouTube, I don't really know, but it is going to be like drinking from a fire hose for the next 6 months. And one, if you try to keep up with all of this and like you assume that where we're at right now is going to be what goes live in Dragonflight, and like you're nervous about what changes they're going to make and all this stuff, one, it's going to be a very exhausting 6 months for you. Don't do that to yourself. Two, that sort of thing, like, it really is what sets you up for disappointment. And it sets you up for going into Dragonflight and being like, well, this just sucks, like 2 days into the expansion and deciding that the whole thing's a wash because what you saw in Dragonflight Alpha is not what went live, and you had your heart set on like this one specific skill or build or whatever. So just everybody just breathe, chill out, and recognize that you probably only need to check in on where the Dragonflight Alpha is like once every couple of weeks. Unless like you just want to see what the new talents look like for your, spec of choice. Like that's all, as far as twinks are concerned, that's all the information you need to be worried about right now. If they've released talent trees for your class already, check in on them like in a couple of weeks, and then check in on them again maybe in like mid-August. Don't try to keep up with the daily changes and anything like that. That's a fool's errand. If you haven't gotten talent trees for your class yet, maybe check in every couple of days and see if you do. But otherwise, like, I'm going to encourage everybody to sort of detach from it, right? Like, just don't try to keep up with every minor change. Chill out, be cool, have a good time with it, but if you try to stay on top of everything, and if you try to keep a constant understanding of what's going on in Alpha, you're just going to be super disappointed. You're going to wear yourself out. You're gonna stress yourself out. Like, that's not why we're here. Like, this isn't why we're here. We're here to enjoy the game. And as a free to play, you're kind of just enjoying the game Blizzard gives you, right? Like, I know Brehan had mentioned at one point, like, was like, well, is anybody having a 20 in Alpha yet? And I was like, chill. Like, no matter what we know, like, you're not going to be able to do anything about it for 6 months. And he was like, yeah, well, but we need to know if something's getting grandfathered or not so that we can work on it now. And I mean, like, yeah, good point. But most of us have already done a lot of stuff, right? And so it might be a situation where, like, in BFA, if you had gone through and been a quest completionist in BFA, and then 8.1.5 dropped and all of a sudden quest rewards could upgrade, well, you were SOL, man. Like, you had already done all the quests. There was nothing you could do about it. You couldn't go get some of those sweet quest upgrades or even a chance at some of those sweet quest upgrades. And then all of a sudden, it didn't really matter because you found out that, like, also, like, rare drops upgrade, and then Shadowlands came out and completely wiped that gearing meta. So it didn't really matter, like, you're just kind of at the mercy of the game Blizzard gives you. And, you can either not do anything and hope that like some quest reward you might still retain access to is really overpowered for a couple of patches and 3 X packs from now. Or you can do everything and just kind of miss out on a few small upgrades here and there, and then find out that in 8 months Blizzard just completely obviates that anyway. So I don't. That is to say, I don't think it really bears any sort of worry. Like maybe when patch 10.0 hits the PTR and everybody can jump on. We're not like hanging on to like 1 or 2 beta testers' ability to get on and test everything about 20s. When 10.0 hits the PTR and we can all kind of get access to it and all jump on and see what's going on, then maybe you want to start paying attention to things. And because that's going to be where we really find out, like, okay, do the treasures in Rivendreth get slapped with a level requirement? Are they going to not be scaled? Are we going to have to chase these absurd treasures within like the first 3 days of the expansion or something? That kind of shit. We'll learn that when it hits the PTR. Because generally speaking, that's when all the big changes have been made and they're just tweaking a couple of like the really minor things. That was where we found out about artifact weapons last time around. That's where we found out about the Heart of Azeroth stuff. Like all of that was on the PTR. It wasn't. We weren't really paying a whole lot of attention to that through alpha and beta. So do yourself a solid and just don't try to follow it. Don't feel obligated to. Don't set aside your FOMO. You're not actually missing out on anything. Like, breathe, chill, relax, have a good time. Remember while you're playing the game is to not stress about changes that are coming to the game in 6 months. It's to enjoy the game in the day that you are playing it. Hang out. So that's today's Chopsvlog. I really do appreciate y'all hanging out with me through the whole thing. If you did make it through all the video, major kudos to you. If you didn't make it through all the video, well, you're just a hunter main, whatever, nobody cares. But thanks for hanging out, guys, and I will talk to y'all next time.